In this video, we're going to be doing grade 12 question 1 solve for x. This is in preparation for the exams, so you're more than welcome to stop the video and do the questions yourself. This is particularly 2025 June Gauteng question paper. Let's begin. So the first question is 1.1. 1.1, which states x squared plus 4x is equals to 0. Now, to solve this one, you honestly have to take out the common factor, of which here is x. And then you have to equate both of the values of x, which is this part, to 0, and the x plus 4 to 0. And then, since you know that the x value for the first one is going to be 0, now the x value for the second one is going to be minus 4. This is the first one. Now, for 1.1.2, I think I can fit it here. 1.2, of which it's 2x squared minus 1 over 2 is equals to 3x. Now, immediately when they write correct to two decimal places, we honestly know that we're going to use the quadratic equation. So now you have to put it in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, how can you do that? Now, remember, since we have 1 over 2 here, we have to remove the 2, the fraction. So we're going to multiply every value here by 2. So in order to remove the 2, so you're going to multiply everything by 2. So you're going to end up having 4x squared minus 1 is equals to 6x. Now, which, since it's like this, you're going to take the 6x to the other side, of which it's going to be 4x squared minus 6x minus 1, of which it's 0. Now, since you know this form, you're going to use the quadratic equation, of which states x plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now you're going to substitute your values inside of the quadratic, of which it's going to be minus b, which is minus 6, plus minus 6 squared minus 4a, of which the a is 4. Yep. And then the c, it's merely minus 1. Let me write it here just for sake. Right. Over 2a. Now for 2a, it's going to be 4, right? Then you can simplify it and say x is equals to 6 plus or minus, you can leave it off like this, or you can simplify it, no problem. Should add up to 52 over 8. Yep, because 36 and 36 36 plus 16, yeah, 52. Yeah, then it's gonna be x. Let me do it on my calculator here. I get that the value of x for the first one is going to be 1.65, or x is equals to minus 0.15. It's up to you how you do this, but then you should get the same answers as me. Now let's move on to the next question, which is 1.1.3. So 1.1.3. Now for 1.1.3, it's an inequality of which is 3x squared plus 5x, which is greater or equal to 2. Now in this case, the only thing we have to do is to just take the 2 to the other side, of which it's going to be 3x squared plus 5x minus 2, that's equal to 0. Now from here on, you have to factorize it, right? Majority of my students use the quadratic equation to factorize this. It's completely okay. Just make sure that if you're using the quadratic equation, please write the factors in this form, please. So you're going to be, the factors are going to be, this is going to be 2 and 1, right? Yep. The reason why it's going to be 3x squared and 6 minus the x, which is going to be 5x, and it's going to be minus 2. Yep. And from here on, we can now write the CV in order for us to be able to write the equal sign and equate both of these products to 0. Okay? So this is what we'll have, to 0, of which it's going to be 3x is equals to 1, since the negative 1 I took to the other side, or I added plus 1 on both sides, and I'll be left with 1 over 3. This is the first one. And now for this one, it's going to be x, it's equals to minus 2. Now for this one, basically this is how it is. There's no need for you to do much, but then since it's an inequality, you have to know in which interval is the answer going to be found. Now for this one, you can use any method. There are 3 types of method, but the one that I primarily teach my students is the graph method, whereby we use this graph to find okay, we use this graph to find the interval in which we can find our answer, right? So this is how it's gonna be. I need to draw it nicely so that you can see. Now since we use the graph method, now we assume that this part here, which let me use a different color, this part here, the 3x squared plus 5x minus 2, it's f of x, this part here, not the inequality sign and the 0, but this part, we assume that it's the f of x. So we're going to say f of x is greater or equal to 0. Now since it's like this, you're going to look for y values that are greater or equal to 0, which it's this side here and this side here, right? Now since you know basically f of x, it's y, you know, since it just changed in grade 11 and grade 12. We start to use f of x up until tertiary states, right? So from there on, since it's on the sides, this means the answer is or, and you're gonna have x is greater or equal to 1 over 3. Don't forget the equal sign, right? And x is less or equal to minus 2. Many of the students forget that because they used to their greater inequality, right? Now let's come to the next question, which is 1.1.3, and it states 1.1.4, I mean, it's 2 to the power 2x plus 2x minus 6 is equals to 0. Now for this one, you can do it in many many ways. There are ways of which you can do it, but primarily I would like us to use the K method because I think it's much simpler and everyone can understand it. Now for the K method, how can we use it? So we're just gonna say let K equal to 2x. Now for those wondering why am I choosing 2x, now remember the top part here, it's x plus x, right? So you see that it's common, right? And you know that if it's a plus, this means it was like this, right? So it's basically common, so I can just say this is k and this is k, and then so I'm gonna just say k, and then this is k, and then k times k, it's gonna be k squared plus k minus 6 is equals to 0. Then I can start to factorize it, and I should find my values to be k plus 3 and k minus 2, right? And from there on I can say k is equals to minus 3 or k is equals to 2, right? Remember that this is why I'm saying it's equals to 2. I added 2 on both sides. If I add 2 here, it's going to be 0, but if I add here, it's going to be positive 2. Same story here. We just took it to the other side. That's what the common language we use. So since we know that k is equal to 2 to the power of x, right? You're going to write it back, and you're going to write your value of your answer. Now for this one, it's not equal to this value because we can't write 3 in an exponential form that will accommodate 2 to the power of x. Now for someone maybe asking, say, can't I do this? No, you can't. It won't work out. So basically for this one it's a 0, and for this one it's 1. Why? Because of this, right? So the only answer here, it's 1. That's the only answer we're gonna have. I hope everyone understands. So for 1.1.6, 1.1.5, 1.1.5, which it states it's x squared minus 2x plus 3 plus 2 over x squared minus 2x is equals to 0. Now for this problem, you can do it in 2 or 3 ways or multiple ways. There are the first one, you can just multiply every this portion here by x, every value by x squared minus 2x. You can multiply this portion here, everything here. When I say a portion, I mean like the whole parts of everything, just put it as a common factor or something, and you're going to say x squared minus 2x multiplied by x squared minus 2x. It's a long method because you're going to end up having x to the power of 4 minus 2x to the power of 3, of which it's going to be a lot of maths, and it's going to take you a long time to finish it in under 30 minutes, since they say it's 30 marks this question. So in order to do this, I would assume let's take the K method again. Now here's why, right? Let me erase this thing here. Right. The reason why I'm saying let's use the K method, it's because I see a common factor here, or I see a common value in a simple language, which is x squared minus 2x, and even here I see x squared minus 2x. So would it be wrong if I said x is equals to 2x minus 2x? And since I said x is equals to 2x, x is equals to x squared minus 2x, I can then just take this whole value of x squared minus 2x and just say k. It's not a minus, by the way. I was just didn't erase this part. So it's going to be k plus 3 plus 2 over k. It's equals to 0. Now it's simple. We can see where we are going right now. Now you can multiply each and every value by the value of k. Since we want to remove the fraction, you can multiply it by the value of k, and it's going to be k squared plus 3k plus 2 is equals to 0. And now we can start to factorize it. Since it's a positive value and this one is a positive, even when you add the two values of the factor, they give you a 3. So you basically know you're just going to have k plus 2 and k plus 1, of which your factors here are 2 and 1. Right? Good. Now let's come to the answer now, of which I forgot the equal sign. We're going to say k plus 2 is equals to 0, or k plus 1 is equals to 0, of which the k value for this one is going to be minus 2 minus 1, right? Since we know that k is x squared minus 2x is equals to minus 2 now, and the k for this one it's the same, doesn't change. Minus 2x is equals to minus 1. We can now start to factorize it. Not factorize basically, but you can take this minus 2 to the other side and do the same for the minus 1. So you're going to get x squared minus 2x plus 2 is equals to 0, and x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equals to 0. And from here on, you can factorize it, and you should get an answer. Now for this one here, we know that it's just going to be x minus 1 and x minus 1, which is equals to 0, right? And the x value for this one is going to be positive 1, or x is equals to positive 1. It's the same answer. Yeah. Now for this one here, we can use the quadratic equation. Reason being, what are the factors that can, when you add them together or subtract them, they would give you 2, and remember that 2 only has 2 factors, which is 2 and 1. So we can use the quadratic equation to solve this part here. So what we're going to do is say minus, it's going to be x is equals to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. This is 4ac divided by 2a, and then I'm going to substitute my value, my values, of which it's going to be minus b, which is 2. Remember that the minus and the minus. And let's come to this side here, of which it's the square root of b squared and minus 2 squared minus 4a, which is 1, and there's 2, right, divided by what? By 2 to the power of 1. Now I would like us to try and simplify this, because from what I see, I think it will give us maths error, because if we look here, the 2 squared is going to give us 4 minus 8. Remember that this is 1, so 1 times 2 is going to give us 2. 4 times 2, especially negative 4 times 2, is going to give us what? Negative 8. And my answer is going to be negative 4. So in the square root here we have negative 4 over 2. So we know that the answer here is just no solution for this one, right? Since in the square root you cannot have any value, or you cannot have a negative value in the square root. Yes. So yeah. Now for this part here, this means the answer here is just x is equals to 1, right? Just say x is equals to 1, because if you say x is equals to 1 and x is equals to 1, that's repetitive. So just to make your life easy, just say x is equals to 1. And then now let's come to 1.1.6, which is the square root of x plus 5 minus x is equals to minus 1. Now to solve this, usually when I tell my students, if ever we see a square root, we have to choose an answer at the end, though not now. So we're gonna start by isolating the square root. It's gonna have square root plus 5, square root of x plus 5 is equals to minus 1 plus x. Then since I basically isolated it, I can now square both sides by square, and I would have x plus 5 on this side, and here basically it would be x minus 1. Remember that the x is positive, and I can start to expand it and solve it, of which will be x squared minus x plus 1. And you can start to move this value to the other side, or you can subtract x minus 5 to the other side. If you move it to the other side, just gives you the same answer, even though if you would have subtracted the x minus 5, x plus 5 on both sides. So it's going to be minus 2x, and this one's going to be minus x plus 1 minus 5. So this is, remember that these are the ones that we took to the other side. So this then would give us what? This would give us x squared minus 3x minus 4. Then we can start to factorize. What would we have? X and minus 4 plus 1, right? Then x squared plus x, then minus 4, yeah. Then our answer is going to be 4, or x is equals to minus 1. And then now you can now take your values of x, and input them into the square root of x plus 5 minus x, and see, does that value of x that you have inputted give you minus 1. You have to make sure that the left hand side is equal to the right hand side, of which if we put in the 4 here, we're going to have 9, of which if we do it here, it's going to be 9. 4 plus 5, it's 9, and minus 4, then it's 3, minus 4, it gives us what? Minus 1. This one agrees. Now if we put in the minus 1 on that side, we would have the square root of 4, and no, we have to check, and it's 2 minus, actually it's going to be plus now, which is 3. Therefore the minus 1, it's not the solution. The only solution here is x is equals to 4. You have to make sure that you select your answer, because it's important. If you don't select your answer, you're going to lose a mark. And now for 1.2, of which this one it's simultaneous solving two values of variables x and y at the same time. So it's x plus 2y is equals to 5. This is the first equation. And 2y squared minus xy minus 4x squared is equals to 8. This is the second equation. Now you have to create the third equation, of which you're going to create it with the simple equation, not this one. This is a complex equation, right? So then you're going to move this 2y to the other side, right? This is your third equation. Then from there on, you're going to sub your third equation into the second equation, of which then it's going to be 2y squared minus 5 minus 2y, y minus 4, 5 minus 2y squared is equals to 8. And that's how you're going to do it. Now after doing this, you're then going to simplify, which is going to be 2y squared minus 5y plus 2y squared, remember, and then minus 4, you can just say minus 4, well, let's just do it at the same time. Alright, I was going to take the 8 to the other side, but let's just do it at the same time. So if you open up the brackets for this one here, if you say 5 minus 2y, you're gonna end up with minus 100 plus 80y, this is 80, minus 16y squared, and the 8 I'm gonna take it to the other side, of which is going to be minus 8, right? Yeah, that's what you're gonna get. You should get this value right here. Yes, because remember that 5 times 5 is 25, and you're gonna multiply it by 4 afterwards. So yeah, that's why. Don't be surprised by the value of 100. And from there on, you're gonna start to simplify, and we should have minus 12y squared plus 75y minus 108. From there on, from this value here, the common term of which, or the common value that we can use to simplify this further, it's 3. You can divide everything by 3, right? Now you can divide by 3, and we would have minus 4y squared plus 25y and minus 36. Then now we have to also multiply everything by a negative, which is going to be 4y squared minus 25y plus 36. Now it looks simple. You can start to factorize it, of which you're going to end up with 4y minus 9 and y minus 4 is equals to 0. And from here on, we know that our y value, let me write it here, our y value is going to be 9 over 4, or y is equals to 4. Same way that we have been doing the past hours. Now since we found the past minutes, by the way, since we found the y is equals to 9 over 4, or y is equals to 4, now we have to put it into the value, into the equation that we created in order to find x, of which then it's going to be x is equals to 5 minus 2 9 over 4, or x is equals to 5 minus 2 4, and you should find our answer. For this one, it's going to be 1 over 2, and let me do my calculator, and for this one it's going to be minus 3. Remember that it's going to be 8, then 5 minus 8, it's going to be minus 3. Yes, so we're done with the questions. Now we're going to move to our last one. Now the last one, which is 1.3. Now this one, it says, for which values of k will the roots of 6x squared plus 6 is equals to 4k x be real and equal. Now in this sense, you use the disseminant in order to solve this one, of which the disseminant, for those who need to be reminded, it's this value, it's this equation here. It's not plus, it's a minus. Right. It's a minus for AC. This is the disseminant. Now, in order to use this, we have to have an equation in the standard form: ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, ours it's not in the standard form, so we're going to put it in the standard form, which is 6x squared plus 6 minus 4kx is equals to 0. Now, for someone who's wondering, where's the bx? Remember, the bx has an x, so this means it's 4k, so it's going to be 6x squared minus 4kx plus 6 is equals to 0. And then now you can use the equation and substitute it in, right? And you're going to say the change in, it's not the change basically, it's the disseminant. The b is going to be minus 4k, right? Minus 4, then 8, 6, then 6, right? Alright, now we're going to have 16k squared minus 144, right? So from here on, we are then going to have to find the value of k in order to solve this thing. Now, remember that they gave us a hint on how to, to use it. They said the answer, the values of k, since we're looking for k, they have to be real and equal. So this means we can just basically put 0, and this is going to be an equal sign because it's equal and it's real. Now, if they stated otherwise, we were going to use an inequality sign for to solve this thing, if they had added other restrictions for us to solve this, right? So yeah. Now this minus 144, we're going to take it to the other side. It's going to be 144, which is equals to 16k squared. Divide both sides by 16, of which you're going to have k squared is equals to 9. And the square root of this is going to be k plus or minus 3. Therefore, k is plus or minus 3. Now, to repeat what I said about why I wrote 0 here, is because we're looking for the values of k, of which they must be real and equal. Now, during my online classes, I usually dive deep into these things. So if you want to learn more on these things, you're more than welcome to email me in order to get the link and to join my classes. So yeah, but then this is how we do the first question of the Gauteng 2025 question paper. And yeah, any questions, you can leave them in the comment. Thank you.